Even before we had the gift of speech or the capacity to understand concepts, there was someone in our newborn world as infants who gazed upon us and spoke the words that the rest of our lives we would long to hear. They would look at us and say, "I love you." Say that with me. I love you. What great words, and how important they are to us. Simple words, those three words, yet how complex when we realize it will often take our lifetime to learn what it means to say those words and what those words require of us. A little bit of a story about love lessons. For me as an adolescent, the exuberance of that age was an experience for me, an experiential flight. Some days soaring above the clouds, other days crashing into hillsides. But in time, I came to better understand what love was about. I fell in love so many times in my adolescence, it was like one long country and western song. But in time, thankfully, I learned that love grows up. But it does take time. We mature. In my freshman year of college, I fell in love again, this time with a cute little girl from Lexington, Kentucky. And I loved everything about her, the way she walked, her accent, and yes, if truth be told, her sports car. As we were just beginning to know each other, she said to me, "Would you like to join me? Would you be interested in taking a judo class?" I said, "Yes, I'd be interested." I think if it had been deep sea diving, I would have been interested. And so we began going to the judo class, and in the first session, what I learned immediately was that she and I were the only two students in the class, along with the instructor. And so for 4 grueling weeks, we threw each other around on the mat. She was petite, but she was fierce. I learned that I was not so much her love interest as her practice dummy. Thankfully, that relationship did not last very long. But there is more to love than those early moments of infatuation or those exciting moments of attraction. In his letter to the congregation in Corinth, the Apostle Paul is attempting to referee a contentious people. Corinth was at this time one of the most diverse cities in the Roman Empire, which likely contributed to some of the natural contests going on between different ethnic groups. The diversity of the city was mirrored in the diversity of this fledgling Christian congregation. They're arguing about who is living the superior spiritual life, who is getting it right, and ultimately, who should be in charge. The section of the letter read for us today about love looks at what love is and how it behaves and what it looks like when it misbehaves. For Paul, love is patient and kind. Love rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, endures all things, hopes all things, and love never ends. But then he goes on to identify the things love is not. It is not envious, boastful, arrogant, or rude. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not insist on its own way, and it does not rejoice in wrongdoing. Paul is trying to lift the vision of these people to help them understand how true love really behaves. He makes the case that love is the greatest attribute one can manifest, greater even than faith or hope. A pretty astounding assertion. He says the journey we are on is not about power, it is not about standing, it is not about prestige, it is about loving one another. It is an idea that was countercultural in his time, and it is equally countercultural now. Now, we have to acknowledge that Paul was not writing to the regional governor overseeing the affairs of his area, nor was he writing to the authorities in Rome. But I have to wonder how the words we heard read for us today have implications for leaders of government, especially our own, in these turbulent times. And I wonder about our leaders, some of them who so casually claim a deep religious conviction, and yet whose behavior suggests a vacuous spirituality. And I wonder if they have read the book. Have they read the book from which we read today, the book containing the words we heard today? And I wonder if love is allowed past security in the U.S. Capitol building. And I wonder if love somehow managed to sneak in a side door, what would be different? Would we still have lingering high unemployment, persistent arguments about health care for everyone, tax breaks for corporations and the wealthy, the looting of pension funds, an obscene level of student debt, reduction in school lunch programs for low-income kids, the gutting of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Social Security under attack, gross economic disparity, homeless shelters maxed out, and violence against people of color in the LGBT community, voter suppression, and more people in prison than any other developed nation on the planet. Love, real, honest-to-God love, demands justice. It demands caring for the common good. It means that we have to be in the act, in the game, being involved, ensuring that everyone has enough. This is perhaps the most countercultural application of Paul's words for us today. Power and greed are making a nightmare of the American dream for more and more of us every day. The beacon we may have been for the world is now a candle in the wind. Love demands caring for one another. When love sees something wrong, when it sees injustice, observes the poor, the downtrodden, and the hungry, it is compelled to act. And love, make no mistake about it, will get in the face of power to set things right. Now, I have to say that there are days when one might simply scan any headline on any typical morning and say to yourself, I need to go back to bed. Pull the covers over my head, call it a day. The media feeds us such a relentless stream of bad news, it's hard to keep our balance. So what is it that gets us up in the morning? What is it that gets me up in the morning? What is it that gives me the spiritual strength to get up and do my best in even the smallest ways I can? Here's my answer to that question. What is it that gets me up in the morning? It's you. It's you and every individual who stands up and stands with those crying out for justice in this world. It's everyone who gives themselves into the possibility of extending a word of hope in the world the day they get up, just that one day. I'm not really making this up, because in this book it says you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. You are those who help me get up in the morning. It doesn't say that part in the book, but I'm saying that part. It's in the book. It makes a difference when someone offers us a kind word when we're having a bad day. It makes a difference when someone extends themselves when we're in trouble. It makes a difference when we find somebody who just is willing to sit and listen. Do not doubt for one moment that every seed of love that we sow, every act of compassion, every word of kindness, no matter how small, when gathered together, can set right an outrageous wrong. It matters when we care for our neighbor, and it matters when love gets in the game. You see, grown-up love is courageous and it is heroic. Now, Paul didn't say that, but I think he would have said that if he'd have thought about it for just a few more minutes. There are courageous and heroic things happening every day around this world that you and I never hear about. Mainly because I don't think it makes news. But it should make news, and we should understand that it's important for us to make that kind of news. There is a quiet revolution going on in every village, every town, every city around this world that you and I never hear about. Every day, the wounded are redeemed, the lost are restored, those without hope are finding it because love persists in holding on to an outrageous dream for a healed world. That's our dream, one we must hold on to every day, every hour, to make a difference. And I have to say to you that I see this kind of love in this place. We are part of this quiet revolution, you and I. In this faith community, in Middle Collegiate Church, and now I'll give you the list that sets over against the earlier list. In this community, there are those who feed the hungry, advocate for affordable housing, work for ex-offenders in supporting their reentry into the community, mentor children and youth, advocate for marriage equality, show up at rallies and marches for justice, rebuild after storms from Katrina to Sandy, share their artistic talents in the cause of a just society, serve on boards of nonprofit agencies and give their time to make the world a better place. They work for environmental justice to save the planet, and so much more. Little things you do every day that I don't know about. Some of you know that my mother, in her last year or so, suffered with dementia. And one of the effects of that disease is that you can lose your capacity for speech. She could make the sounds, but she couldn't form the words. And I would go to visit her, and I would sit with her, and you'd have to know my mom. She was a pretty tough girl, and she would talk on and on, just chattering away. And not one word could I understand. But in her mind, I think she knew what she was trying to say. And on one visit to see her, I was sitting with her, and she was typically chattering on in unintelligible ways. And all of a sudden, she paused, and she made a gesture of a hug, and she smiled, and she said, clear as a bell, I love you so damn much. And I said, I love you too, Mom. And after the visit, I walked to my car, and I sat in the parking lot. And I realized what an incredible gift that was. Because I think those were the last understandable words she ever spoke. And I thought, those are the words that come from heaven to earth every day. God loves you so damn much. Now go and love each other and make the world I meant it to be. Make the world I meant it to be. We change the world by doing all the good we can, lifting everyone we can, confronting every wrong we can, standing together every time we can, and giving thanks to God every moment we can. This is the love lesson for today. God loves you so damn much. Go make the world God intended it to be. Let's get busy. Class dismissed.